Tonight, FNC's hosting a town hall with Bernie Sanders. I wasn't invited, so I guess I'm out of town. But if I had an hour with our leading preeminent socialist, here's what I'd ask him. Number one, if you had to teach a course on Marxism or Leninism, how would you address the 100 million plus dead that they left behind? What caused it beyond administrative error? Number two, socialists bring up small successes in Europe without mentioning that economic growth is miserable compared with the United States. Why hide that? Number three, you live in the greatest economic system in history, yet you see in socialism a system rejected by nearly every nation that has tried it as somehow better. Given the previous questions I just asked, why? Four, do you see equality of opportunity and equality of outcome as the same thing? Should there have been a cap on the book royalties, which made you a millionaire? Should you only have one home instead of three? Also, can you give me an example of economic inequality that exists after you factor in age, experience, and education? Older people tend to have higher incomes and more wealth. You are older and richer than most. Aren't you proof of economic mobility, not inequality? Five, since you became a millionaire, you've trained your sights on billionaires. There are 585 of them in the United States. If we took all their money, would our problems be solved? It's been said that if you aren't a liberal when you're young, you have no heart. But if you aren't a conservative when you're old, you have no brain. What's your excuse? Joining us now are Brett Baer and Martha McCallum. They're moderating tonight's town hall with Bernie Sanders. I think it went pretty soft on Bernie. What do you think?
Well, listen, Greg, we'd really like to have you here because obviously 1 through 5
exactly
sounds good to us. I mean,
I think there's some versions of those that you're going to hear tonight.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, all right. Let's go around the horn. You guys want to talk to the pair?
Yes, I have a question just about the location because I think it's super interesting that where you are, that there was a 13-point swing. These were Obama voters in 2012, but by 13 points, Trump voters in 2016. And just curious I'm sure you're going to ask him if Bernie Sanders thinks that it's districts like those, states like those, that he thinks he can flip back.
I think it's one of the reasons he's doing this.
Definitely.
I mean, Pennsylvania is one of the swingiest states of swing states. This particular region, even more so as you point to the points, there are many Trump voters who switched over. They were Democratic voters for a long time, and they went to Trump in 2016. And I think that that's one of the reasons he's here.
It's also very interesting if you look at the voters who were Bernie supporters in the primary process, 11 or 12% of them ended up voting not for Hillary Clinton, but for Donald Trump, now President Trump. So these are the areas that he needs to come to. I think it's very politically astute of him to know that this is where he needs to be if he wants to start to flip those voters in places like Pennsylvania.
Hey Brett, as you know, Senator Sanders ran on trade in 2016, and he has called the president's trade policies weak on labor protections. Will you ask him tonight why the president's trade policies are weaker than the policies that he is pushing inside the Democratic primary?
Trade is definitely a topic that will come up, Donna. It is key to this region. We are in the shadow of Bethlehem Steel, a plant that closed down in 1995. This area was devastated when it did. It's a key issue for voters here and throughout, really, this entire region. You look at those states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Ohio. I think that's really the battleground for 2020 as you look at the map now.
Yeah, a lot of those people are the category that were looked upon as the forgotten voters. And both Bernie Sanders and President Trump tried to tap into that. And what we've heard from Bernie Sanders in recent weeks is that he believes that the president has failed those forgotten voters. Now, do the voters feel that way? That's going to be the big question as we move forward.
You know, if you're staying at the Bethlehem Hotel, there's a picture of me in the bar. I can't tell you why it's there, but I think you should stop by and just, have a drink. Jesse?
All right.
We'll have to look for that after.
Figure that out.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to do that, Greg. I just have a lot of respect for Bernie Sanders. I think the fact that he's doing this Fox News town hall this early in the race, and while he's atop many of the polls, shows a lot of political intelligence because he's signaling to his competitors in the Democratic primary that I'm not here to hit softballs. And he's also showing that he's got a general election mindset. He's going to look for as many voters wherever they are and to a widest audience as possible. You're not going to listen to any of my questions because you've probably all got them nailed down. But are you going to have a moment question, like the boxers or briefs question or something like that? Like ask him about Tiger Woods or Game of Thrones or something like that.
Think we should ask? Should we ask Bernie Sanders the boxers
Do
brief
you really
question?
want to
Would
know
you
the
like
answer
to
to
know
that question?
No, not Bernie. Maybe that was more apt for Bill, but is there going to be a moment question where it goes, you know, everybody wants to know about a pop culture scenario?
Well, I think if we shared it with you now, that it might ruin the moment.
True.
So I don't think that
Moment
we're
before the
likely
moment.
to do that. Exactly. You'll have to stick around and watch.
Well, thanks for answering my question.
Hey, Brett and Martha, there's a new poll that's out that says Bernie is now taking the lead. Would you guys press him on that? Is there a growing support for him, and why?
Yeah, I think that, you know, almost every poll has him in the lead as a declared candidate. We, know that Vice President Biden is not yet in here, and he leads many polls. But you're right. He went from, think of the evolution here, from the outsider who was pressing Hillary Clinton and came very close to now the front runner who has the most money in the Democratic field, is getting the biggest crowds, and now in some polls is leading as the declared candidate.
And I don't think that the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes of the world right now would exist or be as accepted as they are if it weren't for the ground that Bernie Sanders laid down. So his story really is extraordinary because he's forced a conversation in America that I never thought I would live to see, whether or not we should be a capitalist or a socialist nation. And that's a question that is, very fundamental to where we are in this race right now, which, is an interesting place to be in this country.
We should also point out that we're probably minutes away from getting Bernie Sanders' tax returns for 10 years. So I don't know why they put it out 30 minutes before the town hall, but we'll have it.
We're going to get our eye shades on and start looking it over as soon as we get it.
All right. Well, Brad and Martha, have fun. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you tonight at 6:30 p.m. Eastern for the Bernie Sanders Town Hall.